Hi, I'm Nigel the Shanghai Psychic. I can tune into your loved ones in the spirit world, but I can also tune into you, tell you about your path and the choices that you need to make and need to know. I'm currently giving 30% discount on all Tell Craig Your Story listeners. Just use the code Tell Craig Your Story for 30% off your first psychic reading with me online at Nigel the Shanghai Psychic.
So, like, the international school that I worked at, I was a 4 to 5 year old teacher.
Right.
So after I did a 1 year in the training school, I actually only went to look at this job because I wanted to get an offer so that I could try to negotiate to get a higher price, you know? And so I showed up at the school and then I did the interview and I was like, wow. I was like, this seems like a very different experience than this training school I had been at, you know, like they had the proper art room and they had all these like fun things going on and it was this real like lively, boisterous thing. And so I was like, oh, this is great. And so actually I left, and actually right after I left, I remember I messaged my mom and I was like, wow, I just did that interview. I hope I get the job. You know? So immediately I had thought, no, I don't want this training school anymore. You know, I was done with it, you know, and so, yeah, I ended up getting the job, and so I started in, I think it was the end of, or around the middle of August that year, you know, getting ready for the school year, and we had, you know, a big training, and it was like this, you know, family kind of feel, because it was one building, it was about, I think, like 6 or 7 classes, each class had about 20 kids in it. But that was the entirety of the whole school. That was everything. You know, it was all self-contained. And so, you know, that means there were like 6 or 7 foreign teachers, there were 6 or 7 Chinese teachers, and then there were about maybe 14 to 20 like teachers' assistants and people doing other things. And so it was a pretty small school, and it was an amazing experience. You know, like I started out and I got to do these after school classes. They kind of let me do whatever I wanted for after school if we could sell the tickets. You know, if we could put butts in seats, they were like, all right, well then you can do that. And so I got to do we did like body percussion, and then we just did like random like singing, you know, like, and so it wasn't like formal singing where we had sheet music or anything. It was like, oh, let's all do Old MacDonald, then let's do bingo, and it was like it was a lot of fun. It was all, you know, it was all working really well. And the school was packed. We had a waiting list that was just about as long as the school itself, or as the number of students we had there. I don't remember how many students were there at that point, but I'm sure it was like 100, less than 200. Did that for a year. It was great. Towards the end of that, I was working. I was also doing the weekends, and one of the weekends I ended up having kind of a family thing happen, and so I immediately, like the week after it left, I was like, all right, well, I'll be back, but I was like, I need some time. I was like, I have to leave the country for a while. And so I left. I came back, and when I showed up, it was like, oh, okay, well, you had mentioned in the training or in the interview that you wanted to move up and move on, to be a trainer and stuff. So now, here you go, congratulations, you're the director. And I was like, what? I was like, wow, awesome. Like that's great. I was like, how okay, I'm not going to ask questions. I was like, somehow somebody remembered that that's what I wanted. I had briefly discussed it a couple times with my boss, but like it didn't cross my mind that could be a thing. I was like, oh, okay, that's just, whatever. That is what it is. And so, yeah, I ended up, just all of a sudden I was the director, and it was pretty amazing. And so then I became the director, and then I ended up, it was just, that was like fast forward after that. I was the director, and then immediately after they started wanting to build, new campuses, and they wanted to turn it into this like a fast food school basically, right? It was like a chain restaurant, or like a chain school, and so right. And so I was kind of like, oh, okay. I was like, well, it was strange because, to be honest, it wasn't. I really my boss, amazing. Everything was awesome, but it is not what I had expected, and it was not what I had desired and aimed for. Had I known that was exactly what was going to go on, I might have done things a little differently, and maybe not have taken it. I can't complain about the way that I was treated, for when all these things that were, the next year I had another family emergency. I had a series of things that kind of happened, and I was out again for a few months, and I left, and when I came back, they were very gracious. They helped me out, they had a lot of these things that I didn't expect them to treat me as well as they did, so no complaints about that. But as it moved more towards a corporate styled management structure, I started to feel a bit uncomfortable about that. I think that was something that my stress made me very stressed. And so I was kind of like, boy, I'm not really sure that this is exactly what I'm looking for. I think maybe it's best that I bow out gracefully. Like, we find someone to replace me. I move on. I had plans. I wanted to go back home. I wanted to go see my family, and I wanted to move on to other places. Like I say, I always kind of go back to somewhere. I got top 3: Spain, Portugal, Croatia. I still don't know. Here I am 2 years later, still not sure what I'm talking about. Yeah. But I know something like that is more like what I was aiming at. And as I was going towards this kind of corporate structure and this, much more cutthroat type of thing, I was like, okay. I was like, this tiny one kind of, I felt like it was like the one-room schoolhouse of like the 1930s. That was how I felt like it was. It was this special little enclave in Shanghai at this one corner where it was like, it's not it's not the mega city, it's just this one little room, it's just this little building, we have our nice little playground and all this stuff, and it was awesome, and so as it moved into, I think we bought an annex, we bought a few buildings behind, we bought another building down the street, another building immediately next to that street.
Wow.
Yeah, it started to really get big, and obviously when you move that quickly, it gets really difficult to fill. If you're not putting the butts in seats, you got no butts in all those seats. Yeah. Everybody can do their best, but it started to go in a direction that I felt I was very uncomfortable with, and so I talked with with my bosses and all of them, and said, I think it's time for me to go. I think it's for the best. I think it's what I have to do. I was put in my resignation. I trained the new guy. Did all the stuff that I was supposed to do, and then I was like, all right, well, let's get ready for a going away party sometime soon. And like 3 days later, everybody's like, you heard of COVID? You know what COVID is? And I was like, oh, what is this? And then all of a sudden, everything upended. And that was when everything went all the way back. So kind of like the beginning of our story, that's about where that part picks up. So yeah, I think for me, that school was an amazing opportunity, and I met some great people there. But in the end, that style of things just didn't. It wasn't for me. It's not for everybody. That way of approaching things. Like, I'm much happier in a small place. I don't believe we all need to try to maximize size and get as huge as we can and be, the biggest that we can possibly be. I think there's something to be said for quality over quantity.
Yes.
I think that's a reasonable goal. And I know some people, it's about size. Size matters.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No.
Some people have that thing.
Right. But but I think, for me it just wasn't, it wasn't about size. I didn't.
The motion in the ocean or something like that.
Somewhere in there. There's the moral of the story is somewhere in there. So listen back. Yeah.
So during this time, you've told me this story before, and I want to bring it up. I think it's important that you were in hospital for quite a while.
Yeah.
So do you want to just? I know it's probably not the best situation, but I feel that it's like.
I know it's real. It's a part. It's part of life. It's part of my life. I think it's fair. Everything's fair game. Yeah. Well, really, I wasn't in hospital too long. In the hospital, it was about, I think it was 10 days. Yeah. So what happened is I had been at the gym. I was just exercising. I had a trainer. I was doing a little boxing. And then after the boxing, I went and I started doing some running on the treadmill. And all of a sudden, I kind of felt like the left side of my face, I don't know, it felt flush or something. But then all of a sudden my vision went and everything turned like purple and gold. I couldn't really understand what was going on. I didn't know what it was. So I kind of walked in. I stumbled into the locker room, changed my clothes, and my apartment was right upstairs. So I went upstairs, and I knew something was wrong. I wasn't really sure what it was, but I laid down and just passed out, in my bed. And the next day I got up and I went to go to work, and I got on the train, and I couldn't figure out which direction I was supposed to go, and I couldn't read what was in the subway terminal.
Wow.
And I was like, shit, am I normally like this? And so I ended up, I got on the train, after I missed it a bunch of times and kept coming back, and finally I ended up getting to work. I got to the school finally, and then I got in there, and they were all kind of like, what's wrong with you? Are you drunk? What is it? And I was like, no. I was like, I just am tired or something, And so all right, well, why don't you just go home for the day? Take a rest, whatever. So I ended up, they told me to go to the hospital, or go to the med center. I was like, all right, I'll go to the med center. So I went out back towards my house, and I was trying to go to the med center, and I was like, I have no idea where I am or where the med center is anymore. And it's right down the street from me. But I was like, I am really messed up right now. I was like, I'm not sure what's going on. And I was trying to type messages to people, and it was just random letters. People were like, what's going on here? And so I ended up finally just going back home again. you know, and like I was like, I don't know what's going on, you know. So at the later in the day, it must have been like the afternoon or something. Then I got up. I was like, I really got to go to the hospital. I got to figure something out. So I went to the med center, and the guy brought me in there, and he was like, yeah, it looks like a migraine. He's like, take these pills. And so they gave me like a bunch of caffeine ibuprofen pills. And like, so I took those, and then I like sat in my room, and I sat there trying, like, I have my notebook back home, and like, it's so weird because like, when I look at it, it always brings back these really weird memories of me trying to relearn the alphabet. Because I was like trying to copy it off of books that I had because I couldn't read. And so I was kept rewriting like words that I would see, but they would all be like backwards and twisted, and then I was like trying to piece by piece remember what these words were, and like I couldn't figure it out for the life of me, you know. And then and then I remember looking in the mirror a few times and wondering, is this how I've always been? Yeah. You know, like because you know, and in the end, what I found out is it was a stroke, you know. And so like I ended up like so one of the owners of the school that I was at, the school that we had talked about earlier, he came and picked me up, and because like eventually I was like I was calling people, and I was like, I don't know what's going on, you know. And so he called, picked me up, he brought me over to the med center. The guy looked at my eyes, and he's like, nah, I'm pretty sure you're faking it, you know? And I was like, what? I was like, I will tell you right now, whatever it is, I'm not faking it, you know? And so they were like, all right, well, just to be safe, we can get you an MRI tomorrow, you know? And
so the first time you go in there, he says it's just a migraine, and then the second time he said
different guy.
Oh, different guy.
We went to another one that was like a better, I feel like it was a level up, next level of hospital up. You know, and like, or med center. These weren't actual hospitals yet. And so like, yeah, and he was like, I don't believe you. And then so they were like, well, you can come back tomorrow. You know, and so I was like, I don't know about this. Like,
dangerous, but
right. And so then the owner of that school, he was like, no. He's like, we're bringing him right now. He's like, where do they have an MRI right now that we can bring him to? You know, and they're like, all right, here you can bring him here. So brought me in, popped me in the MRI, got me sitting there, like 2 minutes later, they like whole team of doctors and nurses, like dozen people coming out, and they're like, "Don't move." They're like, "We're gonna carry you into the bed." They're like, "But whatever you do, don't move." You know, and I was like, "Oh boy!" I was like, "This is not good," you know. And so yeah, they carried me in. They brought me into the room, and they're like, "Okay, like this." They show me, you know, the screen. They're like, "See this hole?" They're like, "That's your brain." You know, they're like, you got a fucking hole, you got a big hole in your brain right here. And I was like, that makes sense why I can't think. I was, you know, like, and they're like, you know, and they start doing all these tests, and I'm just failing them left and right. You know, they're like, because I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't do anything. You know, like, just useless. And so, like, yeah, finally, like, they started giving me some medicines and stuff, and they're like, okay, we're going to transfer you to this other hospital where we can do an operation to check, because they wanted to check for blood clots, because that's what happens, is, you know, because a stroke is just getting blood in your brain, more or less, like in a simple way, that's what it is. Right. And so they want to check to make sure I don't have other blood clots that are stopping things up and then going to push more blood out. And so, yeah, I ended up just kind of laying there for, I think it took them 1 day to do the operation, and they said, okay, we don't see any blood clots or anything, but I had torn a 8mm slice out of my carotid artery. And so that was what happened, is that opened up, and then it filled my brain with blood. And so, like, so then, yeah, they were like, oh, okay, well, we have two options, like one experimental option, and then we have one, you know, where you can have permanent, like a piece of tubing, you know, basically. And so I was like, oh man, I really don't want this piece of tubing in me forever, you know. And so I was like, all right, I was like, well, what's this experimental thing? They're like, well, for the next like 8 or 9 days, they're like, we're just gonna be IV dripping you with all these different things. You know, like, we're just going to constantly be putting this drug in you, and it's going to basically, like, glue your carotid artery back together. you know. And so I was like, well, all right, but that still sounds better than having to like install a tube into my goddamn leg and, you know, up my heart or something. I was like, oh god. I was like, all right. I was like, let's do it. You know, like let's do this. And so I just laid up for 8 days, and then the owner of the school, he called Ultima for me 3 times a day. He was, you know, he was like, yep. He's like, what do you want? You know, every day I had it ordered. You know, he'd order me coffee and stuff because I always wanted coffee, but I kept handing like I'd have like 2 sips and everything just was shaky, and I was like, oh no. I was like, that's not. I don't want that. You know.
Right.
So yeah, so I did that after about 8 days, and then I went back. And I went home to my house, and I threw my mattress on the floor in my living room, and I probably laid there for like 3 months. Like, I feel like, I don't know how to even remember, I guess. I'd have to go back and look. But it was a long time. You know, I just laid there playing my guitar. Like, basically, like, just like, that was all I could do. Like, I just laid flat on my back and just kept playing guitar, you know? Like, and so I was trying to, like, record things and, like, you know, just kind of, like, and then I was relearning how to read and write, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, that started to come back after, it was, like, the second or third day where I was able to start reading simple things, and I could do that kind of stuff again.
So are you still with your wife at this stage? And where's your family? And
so, right. So this is where shit's gonna get real dark.
Oh, sorry.
No. It's fine. It's fair. So my wife had left. We were separated at the time, and she was back. She was back in Sweden. My dad was in the middle of chemo. He was in stage 4 lung cancer, and so yeah, that's why I was also trying to, like, I didn't want to stress anybody out more than we already were. Like, we had, you know, it was really bad. A lot of things happened all at once. You know, it was like, that's what I look back at though. Like, for me, I'm like, oh, okay, like I had to deal with it, like. But man, my mom is about the strongest woman I ever met in my life, because she was dealing with all this stuff that was, you know, had nothing. It wasn't her directly anything. Well, you know, it was. But man, she was the one taking care of everything. Right. You know, she was the one that had to deal with the brunt of it all. So, like, I just can't believe how strong she is, and so that's always an inspiration for me. Like, no matter what, I always look at, like, okay, but man, my mom's strong. I gotta do like her. Be like my mom. Be like my dad.
Strong, you can,
right? Because also my dad, like, he, you know, the way that he handled everything from his diagnosis on, you know, like, he handled it, I feel like, as best you possibly could. You know, he never complained about anything. He never, oh, why me? It was, no, this woe is me. It was like, nope. You get one life, and he's had an amazing life, you know. And I had a chance. I mean, I stayed with him for about 3 months, just, you know, lived with him 24/7, like, and had a chance to just. We talked all the stuff, you know, because we knew what was coming, you know, it was coming soon, and so gave us a chance to really have those heart-to-hearts, you know, that a lot of people don't, because it happens really suddenly, you know, like, a lot of people don't get that, to at least, you know, the chance to say the things that you want to say before you know it's over. I appreciate that part of it. I had a stroke, you know, then I think it was about, the timeline is all off for me, obviously, for that, but it was probably like 5 or 6 months. I couldn't travel. I couldn't fly or anything. You know, so I was like, I couldn't go back home. But I had an appointment after about 6 months, to go and finally get it all cleared so that I could go travel again. And, you know, make sure I was actually safe, you know, because with a stroke, you risk the pressure popping it back open, you know. And so, but I got it approved. I left on the plane the next day. And my dad was just passing. He was just going into hospice. I talked to him right before he went to hospice. He just told me, he said, you know, don't let anybody cry. He's like, he's like, just take care of everybody. But it's been good, and that was that was kind of how he left it. Is do what you need for the family. Do everything you can for the family, and that's it. Don't worry about him. I got on a plane. I got there, got to hospice. My father, he was non-responsive. But one of the things about even non-responsive people is that they still understand you. Yeah, they still know. They said that basically the hearing is the last thing to go before someone passes. And so, we were there, probably spent 2 or 3 days with him in hospice. And so we were able to talk, and he could still grab my arm, and you could tell when he was reacting to things. I was there. I got to be there in those final moments. He had both his sons, his wife, his one of his brothers.
Yeah, that's
right, exactly. We had the family there. That's how it's the best that it could be. For a bad situation. Yeah, we did that. Yeah, about next day or two later, that was when my wife called me and said she wanted a divorce, and then that was pretty much it. That was kind of because once that happened, I was upset, and I didn't honestly really expect it. I thought we were going to work things out, but that's not the way the world works. Yeah. People grow apart. Things happen. I don't blame her. It's not shit. I don't even know exactly what she knew or didn't know. I don't know what she was thinking. It's she's not a bad person. It's not anything like that. It's just it didn't work, and good. Nobody wants to be with someone that it doesn't work out, and that if they don't like you, then just let it right, exactly. Then that's fine. Let's be adults about it and move on. So fair enough.
China's got 1.4 billion people in it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So it was rough, but to be honest, I was like, that's not even the worst thing that happened this week. It's fine. It was just kind of, I was kind of glad it all happened at once, so I didn't have to stagger it and make that last longer and longer. If all these kind of shit things were going to happen, I'm glad they just all happened at once and then got to get over it, because then, as everybody knows, that was my 2019, and then what could have gone wrong in 2020?
Old Trump that and give you a pandemic.
Right, exactly. That's why. So, the song "Carbon," one of the song that we recorded and did our release for the "We Are Shanghai" compilation that Sishen usually releases every year. We did "Wasted Year" because that was kind of the idea of that was just such a year that and I use songs a lot of times to move past things, and so for me that idea of a wasted year, all right, there was a lot that wasn't a waste, but man,
big part of your life.
It was an important part of my life, and and I also think it's important, those types of things, you can't hardly say be positive about it, but at the same time, what else are you gonna do? It's it happened, and now the positive part is that you find ways to move forward, that's the positive part. Life sucks a bunch of the time, maybe most of the time, I'm not sure yet, I got some years left, so I'll figure it out, but a lot of times things just suck, and there's not really much you can do about it. It's alright, so you just do what you can and move on, and if it sucks, you're just well, that sucks, okay, how about this next thing?
and you know what? You even said it yourself. In the time where you were just laying in the room, you were playing the guitar.
Right. That's for me kind of a
music.
Right. And that's always been one of my ways to process. I think I've always been very interested in the idea of how people process their thoughts, but also process the things around them that happen, good or bad. Without some sort of a, whether it be musical or, artistic type of,
release?
Yeah, something, some kind of a release or, some way to process things. Because I'm not really sure how you would if you didn't have, like, for me, what is music and words, like, what would you do? How, like, yeah, maybe it's extreme, but I feel like that would just drive me crazy, you know? Have you ever, like,
you're totally right.
There's, like, like, everybody needs something, and maybe it's this, I think there's a fair idea to be said, like, anything can be art. If it's, if it's done with style, and it's done, with passion, and, like, those things, like, that's art, maybe you're filling out an accounts book, but man, the way that you do it is like your art, and so you process all of, the things that happen in your life through accounting or whatever. I don't know, but like, I feel like everybody must have one. Or maybe at least I don't want to imagine someone not having that kind of release. That not having that way to process things, like.
Agreed.
And maybe I don't understand it, just like people don't understand, an artistic thing. Yeah. Nobody understands the artist the way the artist understands it. Like, we all look at art and we judge it, and we can have opinions and be critics or this or that. None of that, none of that has anything to do with the artist. Right. Like, the artist is doing what they are trying to do. Like, they're expressing themselves in the way they know how. So good for them. Maybe I disagree and I'll judge it. But still, hey, we should be able to have that conversation. I should be able to tell you what you're doing is shit, and then you can tell me no, it's great. And then
what you're doing is shit.
Exactly. And we can have that, and we can both be right and wrong. We can just be like, all right, fine, like, good.
I want to get back to you about actually before that, I'm terribly sorry about your father.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah,
and
it's part of life.
So we talked about before where you got back on track with the music. So I want to talk to you about Carbon, how that all came about. What was the writing process? How did you start getting gigs? And because like you talk to people now that regularly are going to watch gigs, and they say Carbon's one of the best bands, indie bands in Shanghai. So to see you guys play, and your last gig was awesome. So how did it all start?
Yeah, well, anybody who thinks Carbon was the best band doesn't know shit. we had more fun than anybody, though.
One of the first gigs I went to see, your first gig I saw you was where you won the band competition.
Right, we won.
That was my first gig, and I was like,
2020.
These guys are freaking awesome.
Battle of the Bands.
And you were ripping off Josh, who's in my band, which is even better.
Oh man, yeah, we always have a good time. Carbon was, I mean, it was great. It was it was an awesome time, awesome
so
band,
much
a lot of fun
on stage,
right, like a blast. Like no, there's just it's just to me it's
catchy songs.
I got to be humble about, man, when you look at the talent that's out there today. In Shanghai. Yeah. Like, god damn. There's these bands are so good. Yeah. Some of them are just so good, like Banjax, like I've mentioned a lot of the other ones, Flip House, Round Eye Miracle, the Air Sex. I mean, I know they're not Shanghai, they're from Nantong nearby, but man, I want to count them as part of the Shanghai scene, you know? Those guys are great. Yeah, but Carbon, so it started out, like I say, just in C's. We were practicing for about a year and a half, and then we had that first show right after COVID. After that, Ray, I think, probably was one of the first people to start getting us gigs. The Legend Radio, like he got us some gigs. I think with YYT or YYT Park. I'm not sure which one came first.
What was the vibe like? Were you getting regular? Obviously, you were getting regular people coming to watch your shows.
So at the time, I didn't really know any of the people from anywhere. Like, I didn't really go to Spectres or Inferno much. I didn't, But then after that first show, I kind of met a lot of the people because Round Eye was there and they were playing, and so that a lot of that crew came, a lot of people that are into that. And so I met a lot of those people, and that was where I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, all right, after party over here. I was like, all right, well, let's go. And so I started to meet more and more of the people like, Spectre's Inferno crowd, that type. And Ray got us some gigs. We were playing every weekend for quite a while, I feel like. It was just nonstop, and we were loving it, because at that point we had practiced all our songs so much, that
the back of your hand,
right? It was really, we didn't have to worry about do we know the songs? It was fun, and the process of the songs was also, it was actually just a really good time to write. Most of our songs, we ended up, I think in the end, in total, we didn't complete all of them, but I would say in total we probably wrote 24, 25 songs, maybe, something like that. A lot of them near the end, we were just writing a bunch of songs, and then we never did anything with them. We never played them live, never recorded them or anything. We've got some demos, with just a phone somewhere with a lot of them. Yeah. But the process was great because, well, the early process, it changed, it evolved a little bit, because it started with Roosh, the other guitarist. Like I said before, he'd never played a guitar really. He borrowed the guitar off the wall at C's, and we were like, what chords can you play? And he's like, I could play these 3 chords, so he could play a G, a C, and a D. Right. And so that was pretty much what we were, that was the limit of what we were able to do, because we were like, well, we can't go beyond what he can do, So he learned the G, C, and D. And so for a long time we called our band GCD and G-City and tried to just make it variations of GCD, because we were like, that's all we can do, But then he practiced up. And he learned some more chords. He learned about, how to do the power chords, and that's the key, the power chords. And so once we started doing the power chords, then he would a lot of times would start with a couple chords, and then me and Jared would kind of move them around a little bit, and then we'd maybe add another part, maybe do a chorus, a bridge. Remby would come in, he'd get his drum part, and then I would stop playing guitar while those 3 just went on a loop of whatever the riff was, and then I would quick write all the lyrics, and then I'd be like, okay, here we go, and then that would be the song, So most of our songs, probably, we probably wrote most of them in under a half hour, it was just, that was the process. It was just do that. And after a while we would vary who started it. Sometimes we'd have, Remby would have a cool beat, and he would just be like, oh, here's a beat, and so we're like, oh, okay, let's let's come up with, a progression, let's do something there. And so then we would just work around that. And then same thing though, we'd all start playing it. I'd do some leads, I'd do this and that, then I'd stop playing, quick write the lyrics, come back out and play. And so we did that. And once we had 12 or 13 though, we were like, all right, well, that's a set.
Let's go.
And that was when we started being like, oh man, we really want to play. Then COVID happened, so we had to kind of relearn some of the songs, kind of get it back, because during the lockdown for those month or 2 or whatever it was, we weren't doing practices or anything. Right. All of us were
staying at home.
All of us were staying at home. The only exception I had was that me and Jared, we would go out, and then we would stand on the sidewalk 6 feet from each other, and we would just sit there and drink a beer. Right. So we would find a sunny spot after we'd been sitting inside for days, we'd be like, hey, let's go hang out at the corner of Xinjia and Yanping Road, and so we would just sit out, find a nice sunny spot, boom, there you go. That was the bar, that was the club, that was all there was to do, so we'd go out and do that, maybe a couple times a week. And that was pretty much all we did though for that whole couple months. You had to have some interaction. Being locked up in there, and you gotta feel like you're alive a little bit, you know. And so I was like, okay, we just kept our distance, you know, and we wouldn't even we wouldn't really even face each other because we were like, I don't think you can look at each other. Like, I think if you spit near someone's direction, I was like, so we'd stand side by side parallel and be drinking a little beer, you know.
The two things I wanted to say was the first one, winning the band comp, that was cool. But your banter, I couldn't stop laughing. Like Jelly Spoons come out and said, "Oh, Jack, have you learned a third chord or something like that?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a bit mean." But
that's all right. I'll take it. And absorb that blow.
And then Carbon come out and it's best line. It was something like, "I like the Jelly Spoons." Before I just saw him play just then.
Right? Those were back in the days when I remember that Josh had kept in every post that he had, he said something like if we're not your favorite band, you just haven't heard us yet. And so of course he wants to take a dig at how many chords I play in a song. All right then. Yeah, so I had to come back at something, you know.
Fantastic.
All in good fun.
Oh, yeah, it's all in good
fun.
Yeah.
But no, I think
I like the. What did you say? I liked the Jelly Spoons before I saw them play.
They were my favorite band right up until I heard them. Yeah, but I think that's one of the things though. Is it's been really good over the past year and a half or whatever that a lot of us bands that have been playing together for a while, we can dig at each other a little bit. Yeah. Right, it's all nobody gets their feelings hurt. It's okay, it's just for fun. It's just
the band has continued into Full Throttle and
right, exactly.
The Faux Fighters. That was a great line again. Maybe not for the podcast. Yeah, Josh was in the dressing room getting ready and something. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
it's an
easy target.
Right. I'd say, well, you book yourself as a chatty
That's
drummer.
Right. Then
that just means you don't know when to shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
Love you, Josh.
you talk the talk. You gotta, you take some criticism every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's good. There's some of the bands that are as people, I feel like it's having a good go at them and stuff. But some of them are so intense on stage that I'm I'd be scared to talk shit about them. I'd be no. I was they just tear me up. I was God damn it. I don't know. Yeah, for me, I think I always feel Round Eye is the one that's the most intense show.
Right.
God, man, when he's out there, it's Jesus. Stand back, Chachi's going all in all the time, you know.
But you can just see his passion,
Mm-hmm.
It's just really good.
Yeah, great tunes.
You played all the, you were playing a bunch of shows with Carbon, and every time I see the little posters in WeChat, it's always Carbon.
Yeah.
Like we said before, you played your last show, which was a bit of a shame. We're all up on stage. It was great,
Right. That was a blast.
Good way to go out for Ray's birthday.
Right, and on Ray's birthday, though.
Yeah.
Couldn't ask for a better night.
It's great, yeah. Good to see that you're a film. But,
except I smashed that cake into his face, and then he got, oh man, it was all over me. And the rest of the night, I went to Spectre's after, just smelled like I'd been eating rotten milk all night. It was just awful. People wouldn't even come near me. I was oh god, that was pretty bad. I made a mistake there, but
you also during that time you joined the Foo Fighters, the cover band, right?
Yeah, the Faux Fighters. Yeah. The Faux Fighters. Yeah. I joined them. So I worked on a musical for a while. The musical director is Iñaki, who's the guitarist from the Faux Fighters. Right. And so one of their members, who he was the second guitarist, he had to go back to somewhere in South America, I think Argentina or something, if I remember right. And he went back just before COVID and couldn't get out. You know, really, he was stuck, and then but then he had a child, and so you know, like as we were saying, like life changes, things happen. That's great. You know, it's awesome. But they needed somebody to replace him. He is a way better guitar player than me. Like so yeah, I watched some of the clips of him playing and I was like, this dude shreds.
Yeah,
you know, and I was like, I do not. You know? So but I can play Foo Fighters, you know, and so yeah, so we did quite a handful of shows with the Foo Fighters. Yeah, we practiced honestly not many times before we had a show, maybe 3 times or something. But it's kind of easy when the songs are already written.
Yeah,
you know, it's kind of like, all right, we just listened to the recordings, and they'd been playing together already, so they already knew it. And I was like, all right, I just stepped in, played my parts, and that was it. Yeah, and it was good fun. Yeah, it is. And we might still do some shows with them. Yeah, you know, with the Faux Fighters stuff. But I think more the focus is now on Trash Panda, because Trash Panda is the same guys. Yeah. You know, it's exactly the same lineup. Right. It's just that now we write our own songs, and yeah, it's good. I think it's a lot better. I think Trash Panda writes way better songs than Dave Grohl ever could. You know, who? Who is it? Dave who? So. Yeah, so the process is quite different as well. It's I guess in some ways it's similar to Carbon and how it was in that, you know, we mostly just kind of start playing, but instead of kind of...
Does Colin steer the ship in that one? Or?
Depends on the song. Right. Like like the songs that he sings are the ones that he steers the ship on more, because usually like if he's singing, that also means that he probably wrote the main riff. Yes. You know, the riff part. And so that'll be his. And then I do my guitar, Iñaki does his guitar, we do some backup vocals, and then, you know, Max just powerhouse behind the drums, you know, as usual. Yeah, and then like the ones where I sing and write the main riff. That's the thing, is because none of the songs are like, they're never finished the first time anymore, you know? Like, Carbon, a lot of times, like, after the first night, we were like, that's pretty much the song, you know? Like, but with Trash Panda, it's like, okay, that's, like, the main idea, and then we gotta add, like, we always call it the magic, you know? Like, so, like, we're, you know, Iñaki has his kind of magic, Max has his kind of magic, you know? Like, they mostly do the magic stuff. And then, like, me and Colin, we play our parts, you know? And, like, we write some riffs, we do some things, like, and then... we write the lyrics kind of after the fact, usually. It's like, a lot of times we'll have a hook or an idea, but most of the lyrics that I write, honestly, like, we ad-lib right away. We'll sing a melody. We do, like, scat style, like, bebop. We're, like, you know, like, just riffing off the top of our heads with the vocal lines and all this. And then I'll say, oh, it's about this, you know, but for me, it never really ends up being about that, you know, like... I had a song called, it started out being Dirty Women, and then it became Dirty Windows, and then it became Beyond Good and Evil. I do a lot of revisions. Like, I think it's important to be very critical of yourself. I think there needs to be, for anyone, like, creating, I think there should be, like, 2 sides to you. There's the one that just says whatever the hell, writes whatever words they've got on the piece of paper, and then that other part of you, that when you turn the editor on, everything is garbage, and you just take out only the best bits, you know. And so I think the more time that you put in as an editor, you know, is when you get good stuff, you know. And so, like, the songs that I have written that are, like, decent from Trash Panda, I think are the ones that I've really completely redone a few times. You know, like, I finally get something that I'm kind of comfortable with and think, like, oh, okay, that's a decent idea. Yeah. Because, most of what I write is just it's trash. You know, it's just trash.
And where did the panda come from then? Or is it just come off the tongue?
I had that, I don't know when I first heard the name Trash Panda, but I remember, like, 10 years ago thinking that was the funniest thing ever, is that, like, a trash panda was a raccoon. You know? And I was like, that's just awesome. That's so cool. And we came up with, we were trying to come up with band names for, like, months.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, because we, like, Trash Panda, we played for about 6 months together with these songs before we played a show. And, like, and we just kept trying to come up with a name, and we had all these names, and none of them fit. Everything sounded like a metal band to me. You know, like, and I came up with half of them. I'm not blaming anybody but myself, you know? But it just didn't fit, you know? And then finally, like, we were like, Trash Panda. Or I would say it Trash Panda, but then they started saying it Trash Panda, and I was like, oh, all right. I was like, I like that. That's better than the way I say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we just started doing that, and then you know, we got David Kelman from Bandjax to do the logo. Right. You know, legend. That guy with his goddamn with all his flyers and posters. Yeah. Oh man, like his whole that one when he had everybody doing a different movie. Yeah. Like that one, and he did the same for you guys for the EP release, like that style. Man, he's so good at that style. You're right, exactly. That like movie poster style.
The Hangover.
Yep, he did. Yeah, the Carbon one was the Hangover. Yeah. Yep, The Usual Suspects was the front man from every one of the bands. Yeah, oh man. Yeah, but yeah, he's real good at that stuff.
So you're doing Trash Panda. You finished off with Carbon. You finished off with the Foo Fighters, but that could come back. You're working at the C's Bar. How do you fit in doing a play as well? Tell us about that.
Right. So Someone the Musical, it started out, I first met Iñaki. He was the first one that I met because he was playing bass for Round Eye at the big post-COVID show that we had. So that was what I believe to be probably the first post-COVID show in Shanghai. And he played bass, and he's an amazing bass player. So I was chatting to him after he played, and we just we got on pretty well. And then I saw him again. It might have been a couple days, might have been a couple weeks. I really don't remember, but I saw him at C's, and he was telling me about this project that he had, and he wasn't real clear on what it was. But it had something to do with musical something or other, theater maybe, and so I was pretty interested in just doing something a little different. It definitely sounded like something I had never tried before, and so he ended up just telling me, hey, tomorrow show up here at this little place on Yenping Road, and I was like, okay. So I showed up with my guitar. And that was also where I first met Ivan. So Ivan was the creator of Someone the Musical. He's the mastermind behind it all. So I walked in, and Ivan asked me a question, some very open question, like, so what are you doing? And so it was incredibly awkward, but I tried to answer it as best I could, and I said, something like, well, I play a little guitar. And so we ended up sitting around him, me, and the actors that were there, and chatting about this project. But it's a massive project, and so it was nearly impossible for me to really grasp what was going on at that point. And eventually the actors broke off, and then Ivan and Yaki and myself started chatting more about the music side of it, and that was when we realized that we were somehow going to write or create or compose or arrange some songs, and we were going to turn them into a musical performance, right? Which is nothing like anything I've ever done. It is something that is now that I've looked back on it, I'm like, oh, okay, that was cool. That was a lot of fun. That was such a different experience. And so, we went in, and it was just us, and we had one song that we were working on, and then we watched the dancers do the dance for the song. I think it was the song Punk You Up, which is like this, it's like 7 or 8 minutes long. It's like an epic punk song with a lot of different movements, with different tempos and everything changes, numerous times, and then things come back. And that, basically I'm describing a musical, which is exactly what it was. And I had never seen that before, really. Or, I mean, I had seen it, but I'd never tried to play it myself. And so it was really strange to do it. I remember it being weird because I was just watching people dance in a recording, and then I tried to like tell them good job, like as if we were like with a band, you would be like, oh, good set or whatever.
Yeah.
And they literally just ignored me and walked off.
Oh, really?
And I was like,
wow.
I don't really understand etiquette here with this, So it was a bit strange, but like also I think they didn't know who I was, and fair enough, they just thought I was just some creep showing up in this like. It's just like a top floor of a warehouse looking type building. So fair enough. I don't blame them. But it was cool. It was a cool experience because the next practice we started with this other guy, another friend of mine now, very close friend, Keegan. Then another close friend of mine now. Pablo. So all these people I met through the musical, and they're all of them, like just the best of the best musicians that you could find. That was everybody we could find, and it was just it was perfect. So we got them together, and Iñaki was kind of the musical director, but Ivan was the one that was writing the songs, and Ivan would send us these like they were just kind of like, the Casio keyboard, the cheap Casio keyboard with the basic sounds, and he would be like, okay, this is the song, and we'd listen to it, and I was like, okay, cool. And I really didn't get it. I was like, those are good songs. I was like, but they sound, like they sound thin and they sound weird, and I didn't really know what we were doing. But then all of a sudden, Iñaki shows up, and he had gone through his programs, and he had recorded all the parts with different instrumentation and really arranged it all. Wow. And then I realized, I was like, oh, I see. I was like, this is the raw material. These are the songs that are a part of this bigger thing, and now we're turning it, we're making it full of flesh, And so we really fleshed it out. We turned it into something. I take the royal we. I'm stealing much more. I didn't have much to do with all of that. Like it was much more about Iñaki and Ivan and the way that they worked together, because they worked together really well. And so we did that first. We did the first musical. We performed for some months, we practiced for some months. It was maybe it was a few months, and then we performed it. And then we started doing another one because Someone the Musical is actually a few different chapters about a few different characters. This last one that we did, this is the one that we did with Zach Heffler, who also amazing solo artist on his own right. He played the lead character Drew in Drew's story. And so he was the lead, and we had a couple other big epic songs. But then we also had all these. It was kind of every style. I feel like every style was represented. We had like what we called like the Pistolera cowboy song. We had we had like these very dreamy dreamscape type of songs that were much more melodic and slow, and they were duets between Drew and Julie. Sorry, Julie's her real name.
All right. So, what does the future hold for Jack Donovan?
So, I got a couple of big projects coming up. I think one of them that I'm working on is a solo live show. The solo live show is me with an acoustic guitar playing the songs that I like to write. It's gonna be interesting. I hope to play it maybe once or twice right before I leave. You'll see why if you get a chance to come visit.
And you're leaving
Shanghai.
To?
Well, I'm going to be leaving back home to the States sometime, probably November, fall-ish. But all dates are soft dates,
right?
Right? I just kind
To
of
be
go
confirmed.
where the world takes me, I suppose. But I want to at least get a couple good solid shows in with just some solo stuff that I haven't really had the guts to play live anywhere else. And so I think I'm going to play that and then take off. I guess the other big project is getting on a plane, getting the hell out of here. So, it's
Adios.
been right. It's been a long time
Shishi.
coming. I was trying to leave a long time ago. It's so in my head. I still have just this massive box of things next to my bed, which is all the stuff I packed up to ship off. And it's still sitting there.
Right.
And so I just, every day I wake up and I look over at that box and I'm like, I'm still waiting to leave. And so for like a year and a half now, I've just been waiting to leave. And, I think it's time. So, yeah, as soon as I finish those big projects, I'm out.
Right. Oh, Shanghai will miss you.
Yeah, well, I'm going to miss Shanghai. Luckily, there's over 1 billion more people just like me. So.
And tell us about your social medias. Where can people find you online? And
WeChat? For the most part, yeah.
So no social media. Just go to the C's bar.
Right. If you show up at C's bar on a Friday or Saturday where there's live music, you'll find me there.
You'll be there.
Like, guaranteed.
Yeah. And then
I hear there's a Trash Panda Instagram, maybe.
Right.
So maybe look up Trash Panda on Instagram. I don't know. I don't have Instagram either.
And just go through your shows one more time coming up.
Yeah, well, then the only one I have right now is August 13th. We have a good one coming up. This is going to be the Friday the 13th. You know what that means? Shit's gonna get sick.
Black
All right,
Friday.
yeah. So we got some scary things coming up. That's gonna be a badass show. That's the only ones right now that we've got. Everybody's on holiday. Trash Panda guys are trashing around. Maybe the south somewhere, Chongqing or Chengdu or something. Mm-hmm. One of them was, I don't know, Sanya. I think they were at, like, I don't know. They're all over the place. They're on social media. You can find them all. I'm jealous. I don't even know how to work a goddamn computer. So
Colin's very social media friendly.
Yeah. Colin's a great guy for that.
He's promoting them.
Yeah, he definitely. Yeah, definitely. If he's got all kinds of links for us. If you've got, I think he's got the Facebook, the Instagram.
Yeah.
Because all those ones, they start with the, right? The Facebook, the Instagram. I think that's the way it works. Yeah. So yeah, they're all there somewhere. My social media is walking around talking to random people, kind of being weird, and then creeping them out, and then they leave.
That's a good social media. That's an old school.
I'm unfortunate anti-social media, but not on purpose. Sometimes.
All right, finish off. I asked some just like questions, and you give me your top 3 or 4 favorite as of today.
As of today, all right.
Yeah,
cool.
Man,
it's been a fucking good day, man. I'm in a good mood now.
First one, bands. What are your top 3 or 4 favorite all-time bands as of today?
One of them would be Princess Chelsea. I would then the Alves. I got to go with one more long-term all-time favorite, Alkaline Trio. Got to.
Top. You've mentioned them before, but maybe 4 or 5 Shanghai local bands.
Oh shit, local bands. Lately, oh man, I'm gonna have to, for number 1 right now. I'm gonna have to skip though all the way from Shanghai straight north to Beijing. Daydream. Fuck, man, they killed it.
Yeah.
The other weekend they came down. They played a show Saturday and Sunday. One at C's, one at Mile Live House, and absolutely slaughtered it. Wow. So yeah, that was so good. But other Shanghai bands. Top, I would say Flip House, especially ever since that latest release. That new album's killer.
Great album.
Round Eye, just man, always solid. Chimera Cult, yeah. If you want to, when you're starting to get heavy, you're starting to feel like you want to break stuff. They're with you. I'm looking forward to the Rat King. Rat King has been a while. They're
album.
Yeah, they're in the studio. I hear. Yeah, they got some things going on. I'm really looking forward to that.
And they just signed with like a label in Guangzhou. So big things for Rat King.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that, man. They're going to be awesome. I always got to shout out Radio. Radio's got he needs more recrecognition, and he needs more MP3s that I can put on a DJ booth over at C's. Because I know he hates it, but man, everybody loves listening to that.
He'll finish his album when he's like 55 or something like that. You know,
man. That's why I just started like ripping things off YouTube, everything I could find from Radio. I was like, all right, this is what you're getting then until you give me the official tracks. Oh man, yeah, he always kills it, man. That voice of his, oh man, that's an earth shaker right there. Then oh man,
you're missing out on you said before Jelly Spoons. Weren't they one of your favorite bands?
Jelly Spoons, man, they were my favorite band right until I heard them. No, I'm just saying. I think the Jelly Spoons I heard also have some new things going on.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't heard any of the new iteration of what's going on there, but I know that they got some new players. They got some new songs. I know because I tried to book them the other night and they said no.
Oh. So they've got her birthday party. That's going to be a first show. 14th of August. I can't wait. It's going to be really cool.
It's going to be killer for sure. I'm looking forward to it. They had, I know they were, because they were saying they were working on some new stuff. So they were going to book a show. Mostly, I think I was like not wearing deodorant. I smelled. Another one I'm looking forward to though, like new stuff. This YD Ren. I've never seen him as a band. I always see Will Kemp, the guy who that's
who we played with the other night.
Will, great stuff. Great songs. So those ones I feel like are those have to be near. They're near the top of that Shanghai list. Like definitely worth checking out. All of them, like I know Drowning Fish is coming up with some things. They've got something new. Relatively new band, but they've been putting out some good stuff. I've seen some. I got a couple live shows under their belt now, and I'm liking what they're doing. Kind of a bit Radiohead-ish. Speaking of the Clams Getaway, like those guys also have that vibe. Like real musicians. Those guys are real musicians for sure.
Some great tunes.
Vigilante, love that southern rock style. That's hot. The fucking Leather Jacket. That's one of them. Leather Jacket. That's one of them I really like too. They also kind of have that dirty rock and roll, almost like classic rock style stuff. Like that's good.
What about a bit of Loose Booty?
I was gonna say, let's not forget the funk. Exactly. I was holding out on them, but. Gotta hear it for the Loose Booty. Man, started as the Funk Monks not too long ago, and then all of a sudden, Loose Booty. Yeah, dude, they came by storm. Oh man, they've been killing it. Like they were, and I mean, shit. You talk about you got 10 members, all of them just the best, the best. You got that horn section. Yeah. Horn section spot on. They got a horn with an instrument I didn't even know existed. Whatever that weird saxophone, it's called like a butt saxophone or something. I don't even know what it's called anymore, but it's something like that.
I saw him at C's, and there was 3 trumpet players in the sound section, 2 in front of him.
Right.
Like, everybody else was like. So when we played with them at Loafers, it was like finally.
Right.
But even if when they were all in like one line, they were still sort of like
Right. Yeah. I think it's the biggest band in Shanghai. I mean, like they're one of them that has not really
biggest indie band.
It's like 10 people, down to 8 finally, but it's down to 8, so down to 8 is crazy.
God bless them for organising a jam and then organising gigs to get 10 people in the one spot.
Oh, I know it. And then writing these songs. Man, I've heard some good stories about how their songwriting process. You got to get them on here, man.
I've heard it's like a story.
I heard they do fucking PowerPoints and everything to write songs. Wow. Yeah, and then another hot one coming up, fucking Banjax, man. Oh. I heard Control the other day. By Banjax, they're doing like the whole album, but I heard that track, just a quick cut from Kelman the other day, and man, sounding good. Yeah. So they're just, I think they're finishing it up. I think they got most of the vocals, like all the instruments done, so that one's going to be a real good release. I'm looking forward to that party and everything that follows that.
What about that Trash Panda band, like that new band?
Trash Panda, dude. Trash Panda, let me tell you about them. I hear Trash Panda's we got that one song coming out with a video, Monterey.
Come on.
We also, we're going to follow that up though. We're going to turn that into an EP. Potentially, there's a little bit of potential that maybe we go all the way through and we just make that album. We've already written it, but maybe we just do an EP first. We're relatively new. We're newcomers here, so we're just trying to make a little music. If anybody wants to hear it, we want to give them an outlet, let them hear it. Let them have some fun with it, sing and dance with us. I mean, we love playing shows. I feel like we're primarily a live band. I feel like most of the bands I've been in here in Shanghai have been primarily live bands. That's kind of the thing we enjoy the most. Yeah. We love going out there, just bringing a bunch of noise and energy and seeing what we can make happen. So.
What are your 3 favorite countries you've been to, and what are 3 that you would like to go to after the pandemic? Spain
definitely in top 3. Probably Morocco. Top 3. Vietnam, top 3. Yeah. Vietnam. I think that's the one I want to go to next. I think I'd just like to go there for a long weekend or something.
Very underrated.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks Thailand. I say Vietnam.
Right. All right. So 3 places I want to go. I want to go to North Korea.
Wow, that's something I didn't think you'd say.
I don't know that I ever will. But I do think it would be cool to go there.
I think China. I thought China was going to be hard, but North Korea is going to be.
Yeah, I think right now I'm not allowed to go. I'm an American. I don't know if we're allowed to go.
You've got to have a permit, and they take your passport when you get into the country, and you've got to have the tour guide be like next to you at all times.
Right. That's probably for the best. Yeah. I feel like
and play basketball with Kim Jong Un.
Right. Yeah, I feel like it would be. Yeah, it would be something though. I'd like to see it.
But it'd be just like China. It'd be just like.
Yeah, it's true. Fuck it. I'd change my mind. South Korea.
That's correct.
All right, I go South Korea. I'll go to fucking Seoul. I want to go to Seoul. Yeah, Seoul.
It's a republic there, so it's not like that.
Right. I want to go to Seoul, South Korea.
Cool.
I've never been. I got some friends, not in Seoul, but in South Korea. But they always rave about it. I got this one friend that he's always sending pictures of like wild bugs and animals and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, it looks like really nice nature, and I think that's one of the things that I miss here in Shanghai is that there's like some greenery in nature, but like I miss real nature. Yeah. That's one thing that's kind of not here. And
I miss the beach.
Right, a nice beach, not the beach on Huangpu River. There is that beach on Huangpu River you can go to, but no thanks. Yeah. See, I think one of the places I've always wanted to go is Macedonia. That I've never been. Like Macedonia seems like it would be really again, I guess because of nature, like the lakes there. Like it looks like they have a lot of places where you could just really set up a tent around the lake and just sit there for months. Right, like I would just live there for months. Like that would be awesome. Like I'd absolutely love that.
That sounds really
Yeah,
cool.
that sounds great. Like, yeah, somewhere over in Macedonia. It had to be somewhere in South America. Ecuador. I think I'd go Ecuador. I'd try to
swim with the turtles.
Yeah, yep. So go near the Galapagos, go off there, probably try to accomplish all the feats of fucking Atahualpa. See if I can fight harder than Atahualpa and not get my gold stolen and shit. Was
What's that? Columbus? Didn't Columbus go?
Francisco Pizarro, I think, went over there. He stole a bit of the gold from what I've heard. There's someone ransomed off some gold, and then even after he paid the debt, he still fucking grabbed all that gold and stole it and ran off.
You could be Captain Jack Sparrows and save
yeah.
the day. Yeah.
Yeah, where the hell was that? Well, Captain Jack, dude. I'll be Captain Jack. I think somewhere in South America for sure, and I think maybe it would be Ecuador.
You won't want to come back. Last question.
All right.
Who is your greatest inspiration/hero?
Oh man, that's tough. I would have
It's always my last question.
Yeah. It's got to be my mom.
Yeah.
It's got to be. There's nobody else. There's nobody else like my mom. Like.
I would have picked your mom after what I've listened to tonight.
Yeah. It's I mean, she's the one that's always like. Yeah, when you hit some shit and you feel like giving up, you're just like, well, all right then. Like,
there's always a way around.
Right, exactly. And it's like, and she's much more positive than I am generally, but like, but she always is like, there's like, that's the limit there. It's like, oh, okay, like, I can be negative and be a bit cynical and a bit skeptical and all these things, but there's a limit where it's like, no. That's not how you should interact with your fellow beings. Yeah. Like you gotta give everybody a little bit more credit, give everybody a little bit more respect. Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would have to say, inspiration, definitely mom.
Yeah, that's a fair call. Jack, we could talk for another 2 or 3 days, I think. Let's leave it for another podcast.
Sounds good.
We've talked about some different other episodes that we could do.
Right? We got some side projects.
Yeah, side projects to do. Yeah, mate, you've always been nice to me and always treat people the way that they treat me. So you've always supported the band, and you're waving the flag for music, helping people get gigs, and C's Bar. It's been one of the best things for the live music in Shanghai. So keep doing that until you leave, and then record some more music. Get Trash Panda, hurry up and write some music, and yeah, all the best.
Hell yeah, man. Craig, it's a pleasure.
And we can't see the handshake, but
right, there was a proper handshake.
Hi, I'm Tony Fair, founder of Victorian Grooming Company. Is your beard feeling dry or the skin underneath itchy? Maybe you'd rather soften and tame your beard instead. Our classic collection of beard oils, balms, and soaps will leave your beard looking, feeling, and smelling amazing. And if you prefer shaving, our pre-shave oils and shave soaps will give you a smooth and razor burn-free shave. Handmade in Edmonton with natural ingredients. Visit VictorianGrooming.com.